this video we're going to redesign some furniture completely with the use of paint and transfers. Remember this old cupboard that I stenciled in a video a few years back. Now I did make the stencil and it's just a very simple motif, very simple design, but I was trying to pick up the William Morris design that's in the fabric in this room, that's in the curtains on the table skirts. So I want to kind of continue in the line of William Morris, but I don't want to do another stencil on the new cupboard that I have, the new old cupboard that I brought into this room. Now we have another red cupboard in here, and this cupboard is a little more interesting as far as the design of the cupboard. It's slightly larger. I picked this up at Nancy's estate sale as well. It's got two different tones of red on it. I'm going to kind of wax this down a bit and tone down that red when I'm done doing the design on it. But when I purchased it from her, it was pure white. Now I have a couple cupboards I'm going to be doing, so this is going to be the first one that I show you the work on. And I'm going to use transfers on this cupboard because I just discovered transfers. I know they've been around a long time, but boy, do I love them. I had a lot of choices here. I could grain paint it, I could stencil it again, but I really don't want to do that. I don't want to take the time to do it. I want to do something that's going to be beautiful, but pretty quick and simple, but still pick up the design that is in this room. The design that I'm talking about, that I'm trying to pick up in this room, is this beautiful William Morris fabric. It's the Strawberry Thief design on red, and I've used it on the curtains and the table skirts in this room. So before I begin to apply the transfer, I've actually roughed up this cupboard a little bit along the edges with some steel wool. I've taken off some of that finish and revealed the white underneath because I want to see that. I want this to look like it's an old cupboard as it is, but with fresh new paint on it that really reveals or conceals its age. So I do want that to show through that age. And I really actually like to see that original white paint there. This red cupboard, I have chosen this transfer, which comes in two pieces. This is the bottom piece. And as you can see, the birds and the flowers and the vines are very stylized, just like my stencil that I created on the other cupboard, and the William Morris fabric, the Strawberry Thief. So I really like these birds. I think this is going to look great on the red background, and we'll find out in a few minutes. Now the first thing you want to do is play around with it a little bit, see how you want to position your transfer. These can be cut in pieces or they can be placed directly as is in one solid piece, which is a little bit trickier, I think, to work with. In this case, I want to go clear across the doors, and I want the transfer to also show in the middle there. So I may cut this into 3 sections, and you can see that they have given us some graph lines to work with. So I'm just going to play around with this a little bit and see how I want to apply it. For purposes, I've decided to cut my transfer into 3 pieces, and that right there would go right down the middle in between the 2 cupboard doors. So I will start with that. So I'm placing my piece just to make sure I've got it right, and then I'm going to peel off the back paper and very carefully place it right on the wood. My doors, to make it a little bit easier, I placed 2 little marks right here. Open the doors to make it a lot easier to place. I've got that one, and I've got that one. The name of this transfer is Alberry, and it's by Redesign. Each kit comes with a burnishing stick, or you can buy a special tool made specifically for this sort of work, or you can use a flathead putty knife. They all work equally well. Sometimes they're a little tricky. Voila. Beautiful. I'm really amazed at how closely these two patterns resemble one another. And this is not a William Morris transfer, but I'm almost certain whoever designed it might have taken a lot of inspiration from William Morris, because look at how close these are in pattern and styling. Perfect. Perfect. You can see that I've applied the entire transfer, and I've actually got a lot more cupboard yet to cover, but I don't want to cover the whole thing. I did, however, order another one just like this one, same transfer, and I'm going to do something different down here on the bottom with it. Maybe only use half of it there on the edge, maybe just go along the bottom of this cupboard. I'm not sure yet until I get it and decide to lay it out. So obviously I have a little ways to go on this piece, but I will be able to show you the completed piece in the next video, along with 2 other cupboards that I'm going to be working on. But what I do have to show you is a beautiful little chest that I did completely finish with transfers. So let's move on to that. First piece I ever used transfers on, so it was my first experience, and it was just so easy. I would have filmed this before, but I created this piece over at my friend's house when I was helping with her estate sale, and I purchased this piece from her, and it was just this really nice white finish here. The chest is 80 years old, but it already had a great finish on it, so I applied the transfers right on top of it during lulls in the estate sale, and I did it in a very short period of time. But don't you love these bugs? Look at this fantastic June bug. Boy, I don't like these guys in my garden. Some of these are such pests in the garden. Some of them are great, but I love images of insects and botanicals. Set from Redesign called My Findings. And I used every single thing on here. There are old bottles, mushrooms, ferns, little framed images of botanicals, and with a butterfly in it. I didn't want to completely cover the front of this little chest, so I left a little space there along the side, and then I wrapped it around the edges with just a little bit on each side. I needed some more insects, but I didn't want to buy an entire another set of this My Findings transfer, so I found for about $12 a smaller set called Bug Whisperer. I'm going to take a few of these insects off of here to finish off the top of this chest, and this gives me an opportunity to show you how easy this is if you're doing tiny transfers. So let's pick a bug. I want to put maybe one here and here. I want this, I like the way these are laid out, because they are laid out as if they were specimens, and I want this to look like a specimen cabinet. So I'm going to choose a couple bugs here, and I'm just going to cut them out separately, lay out the transfer, and show you how easy it is. To apply these choice insects on to the top here to finish off this chest. So I'm just going to remove the white backing, press them down in the proper location, and use the burnishing stick to rub them on. Okay, I'm going to put this guy right here. I'm going to peel off that white paper. I'm going to apply him right here. Right there. And then rub him in. Just peel it off. Isn't that amazing? Wow. You can also smash them down a little with your finger if it didn't quite go on properly. Oops, right there. So here we are. I think I've got enough to go on the top here. I don't want to put too much more on. I think I wouldn't mind having maybe another fern here and possibly a mushroom up here. Other than that, I think done is done. Now when you're going around edges like this, you can use your finger and just rub it with your finger. It's really pretty easy to get around all the curves, because these transfers, they just work themselves right in there if you press down pretty firmly with your finger or your burnishing tool. But I just think this is a great way to transform a piece of furniture into something really fun and interesting. Once your transfers have all been applied, you're going to want to add a coat of polyurethane or some kind of a finish, a Mod Podge, a water-based polyurethane, or oil. I prefer a satin top, but on this I realized all I had was a shiny glossy one, and I don't like that, so I'm going to go back over it again with a satin finish. And that will seal your transfers on, and then you will have designed a really remarkably beautiful piece of furniture. Love it. Now the insects on here are just wonderful because they're not real. However, I have had a lot of problems in the garden with the insects this year. So let's go take a look at the slope and I'll show you what's been going on up there. Greetings from Hopalong Hollow, and we are back on the slope garden again. As a matter of fact, we really haven't left it. And that's why I have not had any garden videos this year, pretty much for the last month, because I have been so concentrated on creating this garden on a slope. All the other gardens have really suffered, and it just isn't worth showing them, except for a few little clips that I took here and there of special moments that I found in my garden. But really this was the most important thing to me this year. Getting this going, at least getting it started. Learning a lot about how to grow vegetables on a slope and vegetables in general, because I've never been very good at it, to be honest. The tomatoes have been superb. Of course, everybody can grow tomatoes, right? The little herb garden here is looking lovely with some purple basil and lots of oregano, some sage. I've got some cilantro going to seed, which is fine. and some parsley, because I actually have cilantro everywhere. Well, I've been picking tomatoes for quite a long time, but the corn, this is the first time I've gotten any corn, and I think next year I'll know better what to plant and where to plant it. This is kind of funny. The sunflowers in the tub here are exactly doing what they're supposed to, growing to towering giants. But the ones over on this side, look at nothing there. There's just nothing there. These little squirts. So what I did is I planted some elephant garlic cloves in the middle for next year. And those are sweet potatoes. The herbs are doing great. And these peppers are doing beautiful nasturtiums. They are so beautiful. Oh, I love these nasturtiums. They've done a really good job of protecting my peppers from the bugs. But they haven't done a very good job of protecting the beets, because the beets have really been annihilated from those little caterpillars that have come in. Fortunately, I don't eat the leaves in the beets. I eat the beet under the ground, so it's not really going to have any effect on the actual fruit. But I thought this was a pretty nice garden bed here. Let me take a quick moment to talk about these garden sleeves that I'm wearing. They go all the way up your arm, past your elbow, almost to your shoulder, almost to your armpit. They come in all kinds of different designs. They are breathable. They keep you from getting sunburns and scratches. You can work in the garden all day long without just absolutely sweating. They're super great. I really love them. They have a hole for your thumb so they stay in place. Now, I tried to find a cheap replacement for these before I decided to get this set, because they're not inexpensive. They cost about $26 for one pair. But I found a place on eBay where you could get about 10 pair of garden sleeves for the same price, and they were not worth it. They slipped up and down my arms, they were hot and sweaty, and they just wouldn't stay on properly. So I think these are well worth the price if you're interested in protecting yourself from the sun, or just want something nice to wear outside to keep from getting all those scratches in the garden. It's called Farmer's Defense, and I'll leave a link below in case you want to buy a pair. I really like them. All in all, on the slope veg garden, it's been pretty successful, although I have had some failures. Actually, quite a few failures. The corn's doing great. The corn has done great. The sunflowers are great. However, in this new bed, raised bed where I put in lettuces, the insects, the worms got into it, and they have just been devouring it. As you can see, all the arugula and the little lettuces are just covered in little holes because of these nasty little worms. My temptation is to pull it all out, start over with the seed, because it's still pretty warm here. I know it'll germinate and grow, and then cover it with netting so those little butterflies cannot get back in here and lay their eggs. This has been really disappointing. But the peas are doing great. The little green peas that I planted here, they seem to be doing just fine. This carrot situation is very strange. All the carrots, 5 pots of carrots, planted all in a row. You get the same amount of sunlight, the same amount of rain and water, and yet these 2 on the end are doing fantastically, and these 3 on the back side are doing very poorly. Now, why is that? Well, the only difference in any of these carrots besides the brand of carrot is the fact that these 2 pots, I use soil in which I really sifted it. So it was so fine. I hand sifted all the soil that I planted the seeds into, and it really made a huge difference, because these guys, they look so sparse, they look so dry, they don't look good at all, and yet these carrots are quite beautiful. A trio of little butternut squash. This butternut squash is ready. They say when it turns completely tan and you cannot dig into it with your fingernail, it's ready to pick. So these are going to become some butternut soup. That's a black Russian sunflower. Isn't that a cute one? So aside from all the time that I've spent here trying to work on this vegetable garden, I have had a few successes in the garden, the flower gardens as well. And so the following are just clips, bits and pieces that I've filmed over the last month of the flower gardens. Well, it's just been so hot in the greenhouse, I haven't even been in here except to get the dust and dirt out. But when I have been in here, I discovered that I had a, I guess you could call him an intruder, or maybe he's just a new resident. But I have a snake living in here. And he's a gray rat snake, so he's not a venomous snake, but he is pretty lethal to the mice that might want to come in here and eat my seeds, like they did last year in the potting shed. So I have to psych myself up sometimes to come in here and remind myself that a snake at any moment may come slithering across this shelf or going across the gravel floor. He has become quite a common occurrence in here, so I'll probably have to come up with a name for him. Before long, I'll be starting some cool weather flowers in here, so probably in another month I'll be filling up these trays again, and it'll start looking lively again in the little greenhouse. One of my successes in the flower garden this year. I'm really pleased with these beautiful little dahlias planted from seed. I've always planted the dahlias from tubers, and they get expensive and they get frustrating because mine always rot. Even if I pick them up and store them, they rot. They rot under the ground. They do all sorts of things they shouldn't. But these were planted from seed. Just a simple mix of beautiful little dahlias coming up. Dozens and dozens and dozens of little blooms here, different colors, kind of an apricot-y peach and a pinkish yellow. And this lovely, lovely, what do you call that? Oh, orange coral? I don't know. But they're just pretty and happy. They're very simple, not too showy dahlias, planted from seed for about $3.50. And this is just one patch. There are several patches of them. And another thing that I have been absolutely happy about, planted from seed. Now this is a Baker Creek lavender, and so far no, I don't have any flowers on it really, and I don't even know what kind it is. It looks so different from the other lavender. This is the other lavender. This is typical lavender. This is a different kind of lavender. I will find out the name of it and it will be written across the screen here. But this was also planted from seed, and it's doing gangbusters in here. Now, it would just bloom, but I'll tell you what, the foliage sure smells nice, and it's filling up this little bed in the potager. So busy. I've got a lot of weeds. I was so busy doing my slope garden, I didn't pay attention to my other gardens. But one garden I didn't have to worry about was this garden of Sweet William. This has not stopped blooming since I put it in. I mean, this has been absolutely wonderful. I bet this has been blooming now for 3 or 4 months. And the only thing I've done is occasionally come in here and deadhead it. And even if I don't, it's dropping seed. So this beautiful little bed of Sweet William has been a nice, pleasant surprise this year. Bee balm grows really well in the shade. I'm really surprised it does so great back here. This is a really shady area. Beautiful pink Sunday coneflower growing with some daisies. And I planted these as bedding plants last year. I just had 2 of them, but I was very pleased to see them coming back again. It's a really stunning, stunning coneflower. I collected seeds from them last year, but they just did not germinate. Oh, look at this poppy. I don't recognize it. I don't remember the name. All I know is I just tossed a handful of poppies in this particular section of the garden, and they were all mixed up. If you recognize this poppy, let me know. I think it's a real stunner. Well, here's what I've been missing for these last couple of years when my ranunculus didn't bloom. They really are very, very beautiful. Now, I wish that they were all blooming along here all at once, because it would be a much prettier show. But there's still a lot of them that haven't even opened. It's a gorgeous flower. Love and a Mist, planted with viola. I'll close this video with Penelope here. This is a beautiful rose from the Antique Rose Emporium. And behind it, if you can see this moss rose, look at this moss rose. I planted it last year. It's becoming an enormous bush, but I have never once seen a bloom on it yet. But this is, it's basically its second year, but the rose itself is just spreading like crazy. So hopefully something new and exciting will come forth on these stems, but we'll see. In the meantime, from Hopalong Hollow, this is Jerry, and we will see you next time. Bye-bye.